Hey, hello, and welcome to week 3 of our running body reset. So we're keeping with some familiar movements and with some additional variations. And we're bringing some new stuff in as well. So we're still keeping this idea of rocking and moving and bouncing as ways to kind of improve flexibility and get into potentially a wider range of mobility. So again, this week we're still largely staying down low. It's a really good to get feedback from being closer to the ground and being able to release the body. So we're going to concentrate again on release, a little bit of movement, and also adding a few pauses. So we're kind of mindful when we're kind of a little bit more open, what that feels like. So let's make a start. So we're actually starting in a strange position. So I'll come to the center. So I'm on my toes, I'm on the balls of my feet. I've got my fingers on the ground and I'm releasing my bottom as much as I can. Knees are forward, so I'm not pushing the knees back particularly. I'm finding somewhere through partly the balls of the feet, but also a little bit of movement in the knees, a little bit of movement in the pelvis. And for a lot of us, it's probably going to be the pelvis that's going to be the mover. But see if you can put a little bit more weight through the toes and the balls of the feet and a little bit more of a sense of pushing from that kind of low down. I'm not pushing with the fingers, they're just keeping me from falling over, basically. And I'm finding about. So again, that won't be an easy position for everybody. If it's not good on the knees, you could try it a little bit higher and see if that works. So you're not actually locking in, but that will be more work on releasing through the bum. Okay, see how that feels as we pause. Hopefully everything okay, but a bit more energized. So again, often we do some quicker movements to start the practice off. But then we're going to come onto our back and do some things that we're familiar with and some things less familiar. So I'll try and describe things as clearly as I can, but if you need to look, obviously please do. So come down onto my back with my feet on the floor and my knees bent. So I'm hoping also that movement along the front, the toes and the ball of the foot will mean that the front of the feet are now down. Sometimes I have little weight going through my toe joints, or maybe the big toe is actually not grounded at all. So I hope that's helped a little bit. But now coming onto your heels, so you've still got your knees bent, and then just do windscreen wipe feet. So you take your upper feet, toes one side and the other side as you kind of roll on your heels. And what will be happening there is you'll be working your ankle bones as well. See how that feels. So we're not doing this too long, but just in trying to keep weight through the heels as you do that, hopefully. So we might need to take your heels further away from your bum to feel comfortable with that. Then let the whole of the foot come down, and hopefully you'll get a little bit more a sense of this groundedness that we're all familiar with, I would think, by now. So heels, knees, hips, weighted through the pelvis. We may be weighted through the head and the arms, but we're going to deal with that anyway in a moment. And hopefully getting a sense of a little bit of energy through the joints and through the muscles, even though we've not done a lot yet. So sweeping the arms up towards the sky, and the arms are shoulder distance or slightly wider, and just rock across the upper back. So we get a little bit more sense of that area, which is not an easy area to feel. So really being conscious of, we might feel bone on bone of the shoulder blades. We might feel muscular movement or contact to the upper back, as well as obviously the back of the head, as we find our rhythm going side to side. Okay, and pause the arms down for a moment and just find a happy position for the feet in relation to your butt. And then feel maybe a little bit more weight now through the head, the arms, and the upper back, all the way down to the rib cage, hopefully. Okay, so we're going to do these sit-ups that we sometimes do. So we're not going to sit up far I want you to take your arms up towards the sky, this time definitely wider than shoulder distance with the palms facing. So you're going to use your hands to raise the head, raise the upper back off the floor. So you're really kind of on your rib cage base, maybe the base of your shoulder blades as you reach slightly forward, chin comes to chest without forcing the chin down, but just that kind of direction to support the length of the back of the neck. And we're pausing for a moment. So that might already be feeling like, oh, I can't stay here. There's a bit of shaking. So just pause for one moment longer. And then gently release yourself down, including the arms back by your side so they're comfortable. And get your breath back. So for most of us, we would have been pausing the breath through that cycle. So just find the breath again and find a sense of release of the upper body particularly, but you still should be able to also feel that connection of the lower body and the hips. Okay, so from here, we're going to find our happy position for feet in relation to our butt for bridge. So we're going to do bridge, then something else, then come back to bridge. So you choose whether you want your arms active and palms down, or whether you just want them loose, palms up by the side of your body. So it is going to be an active bridge, but not a high bridge. So just to get us kind of ready and rolling for that, just create a little bit more of an arch in your lower back for a moment. So you roll the front of your pelvis and then you lower the whole of the lower back down. So it's like your bum slightly lifting as you go onto the opposite side of your pelvis. So just rolling on the pelvis to get that arch back and that flat back. And if you feel like you're rolling too far forward into the arch and overarching, then you just, don't go through that full range, just limit that. But you hopefully get a bit more joy from the flattening of the lower back for most people. That's your release element. Tense a little bit to create the arch, and you'll soften more to create the softening of the back down to the ground. Okay, just find your new, maybe different, maybe exactly the same positioning on the ground. So we're working a little bit with the arch there. So we are going to go up into bridge now. So using your feet, lift the pelvis off the ground. So you're going to come, so you're on your shoulder blades. So you're coming up reasonably high, but certainly not to all the way to the top of the shoulders. So you've got much more freedom in your back. But neither are we doing this kind of collapse in the pelvis, or resting in the pelvis, which we sometimes do to create the hammock. So you pick the pelvis up as high as you're comfortable, so you get a bit more sense of length through the hip flexor. So for me, that means chasing my knees away, and my knees are just above my ankles. So I am giving some energy to the side body, the belly, the glutes are working to at least some degree. I'm not allowing my knees to float out, but I could potentially stay here for quite some time because I've got the shoulder blades sort of giving me that stability at the top of the back. Okay, so we're going to lower down now and land, so give you full weight to the ground. So we're going to do a kind of walking movement while we're lying here. So what I mean by that is we push one knee forward and the butt rises slightly, and then we push the other knee forward. So it's kind of walking. It's an alternating between pushing one knee away and then pushing the other knee away. And that works all the way through our pelvis, obviously our hips, and into the lower back as we do this small movement. So you can make it even smaller than I'm doing. Just face towards you, please. That makes it easier. I'm not sure it will, but it's sort of pushing forward, pushing forward. So I notice as I push forward, I'm also getting a bit more length through the hip flexor. You can just push into the foot, just push into the foot, rather than thinking about the knee. Okay, and then from there, just lift the feet off the ground quite a way so you get the lower back softly into the ground again. just to release and stabilize for a moment. And then feet back down, and we're going back into bridge, and we'll be raising one leg, so it'll be a single leg involvement in the bridge. So again, just create a little bit of arching, a little bit of flattening in the lower back for a moment, just 2 or 3. See how that feels, stabilizing again down the center. Okay, then we're going to again push through the feet, lift the pelvis up, keep the shoulder blades down, have that sense of reach through the knees, lengthening through the hip flexors. And from here, just raising one foot. So it's, flexing the foot, dorsiflexing the foot, thighs are in line. It's just like you're just extending one leg. You're just pausing with that for a moment. Lower that leg down. Try not to drop the pelvis as you swap over legs and you extend the other leg. So it's in, thighs are in line. And that's straight, your straight leg. And both legs down. Back all the way down to the ground. Let yourself land. See how you feel, tickling your lower back there. And this time, lift your knees towards your rib cage, towards your chest. Take your hands on your shins to raise your bum off the floor, so you get a little bit more release and lengthening through the lower back for a moment. Okay, so feet back down, and this time if you take your ankle over your opposite leg, yes, whichever might help show you, ankle over opposite leg. And from here, with the knee shooting out to the side, what we're going to do is we've got one foot on the floor, we're going to take that foot off the floor so it brings the whole of that leg closer in, and then we just bring it back down to the ground. Pause, and then we lift the foot off the floor again to bring that. So you'll feel something maybe down the back of the leg. Not everybody will. Some people are flexible there. Back down to the ground, and one more lift. And bring that back down to the ground. Gently unhook that leg and see how you feel in your lower back and your pelvis. So for me, that's quite a nice opening for the hip, and my lower back gets also a bit of freedom, I find. Opposite ankle, hook over, let the knee relax down, lift up that foot for a moment, bringing the bent leg closer in, back down to the ground. So up to 3 times, bringing that leg up, flexing, dorsiflexing that ankle that's just below the knee on the opposite thigh. Okay. And back to the ground. Unhook, see how you are in terms of positioning and feeling in the whole of the back, but particularly the lower back. Okay, so taking the feet wide as the mat, that's wider than shoulder distance. Arms away from body a little bit, or even up to as high as shoulder level if you feel comfortable with that. And then just taking the knees over from one side to the other side. When you come to the first time to come to the second time on the first side, pause when your legs are in that open position. So again, we just pause, feel what the stretch, if there is any stretch from the armpit down to the hip and down to the knee. And then we lift up and we do the same on the other side. So it's just a second time we feel the length and we pause in that length. And breathe. Yeah, so the movement work we've been doing each week means that we didn't have this pause and rest stage very much, so we're kind of adding that in sometimes. Okay, back to center. And as you go over to your first side, then roll over, we're going to come to sit up. Now, you need the feet in the same position, i.e. as wide as the mat. And you go into, I've got my hands behind me, and I'm going to sweep my legs over to the side like I was before. And then over to the other side. So was it the knee kind of arrives just in the arch of the opposite leg or around the heel. And we're gonna possibly feel stronger than the line, excuse me, the lying down version. Okay. And then we're going to try and take the arms away. So as we come over, see if you can reach out. So I've got my arms wider than my shoulders. You know, I can't get this hip down completely, so I will look a bit weird, but I am trying to take the weight over a little bit more so that I can release on that side. Then hands down, go to the opposite side and extend arms up. And if it feels like it's possible, then you keep the arms up as you switch sides. Yeah, so that's demands a little bit more core work. Well, quite a lot more core work. So that might not feel good for backs or knees or hips. So I'm disappearing as I walk across the room, aren't I? I have to stop here. Okay. And then at some point, we're going to just go back down for a moment. And what we're going to do here is again just see how we are in the back, in the feeling of the body on the ground. So that movement that we've just done, I find when I come back down, I've got a little bit more breath available, a little bit more space, maybe in the diaphragm, in the side ribs. So it may or may not be something that's noticeable for you. So what we're going to do here is take one hand behind the head, so the elbow goes out to the side. We're going to do this kind of diagonal move where we take the elbow to the knee. So you pick the foot off so we can spiral in towards the center. So we spiral in with the knee and we'll be spiraling with the elbow to touch and pause ideally. So you can watch one if you want to, or you can join me. So what I'm going to do first is just slightly press. So I've got my right hand under my head. I'm going to slightly press my right shoulder and my left hip down to the ground. So it opens up an arch diagonally from the right shoulder to the left hip slightly. Won't be noticed much there. And then I bring my belly in, I sweep my knee and my elbow towards each other. So I spiral the knee in and the elbow, and I pause there for a moment. And then I open out and relax back down. So I'm going to repeat that, pressing down on the right shoulder and the left hip. And then I'm going to bring my belly in, lower back down as I curl into the center, spiraling the elbow or that kind of direction. I'm going to pause for a second and then we're going to open up and return back to the ground and breathe. So this also should help the breathing a little bit in terms of opening the sides of the rib cage, giving a little bit more potential for breath there. So we'll swap over and we'll do two on the second side. So I've got left arm now out to the side. So I'm going to press slightly through the left shoulder, slightly through the right hip this time. And then the lower back goes down as a spiral in, elbow to knee, pause. And then I return to base and I relax for a moment. I'm ready to repeat. Shoulder, opposite hip. Press slightly, release that, belly comes in, lower back down as a spiral in, elbow to knee, pausing. And then return to the ground, unhook the hand and just enjoy a moment to pause. Release the lower rib cage down if you can here. Just relax around that area. Okay, so we're just going to roll over to one side. And we're going to just reorganize that. I'm going to come to all fours. So start on all fours just for a moment. And we'll cat-cow here. So just a little bit of space for the back, going from flex to extension, from rounding to an arch. Just find the flow through the ribs, flow through the spine, flow through the belly. So just for a moment, when you get into your cat next time, let the head be heavy and just pause there. Let the belly slightly tuck and support the lower back. It will naturally do that, but you can sometimes put a little bit more effort there, not a lot, but just a little bit more effort there. And then relax into your neutral position. Okay, so from here, we're going to come forward with one foot. So we're going to step 1 foot forward. And I want to try and open up the hip flexor. So I want to get a little bit, I want to get the hip ideally further forward from the back knee. You can have the back toes tucked under or not, up to you. And this forward and back movement. So firstly, we'll start up here with the hands on the thighs as we rock forward and back. And then pause in this more open stage. So when you've got that opening, maybe through the back hip flexor, just see how that feels in pause position. And then take the fingertips to the ground. So I'm going to, so I've got my left foot forward, so I'm going to raise my left arm just to come into a twist. I'm going to suggest you keep the head in neutral actually, because everybody wants to look up, and for most people it's not very nice on the neck, so just find a neutral position. And fingertips back down, this time on the little toe side, and see if you feel okay about taking the opposite arm up and just looking into neutral. Just pausing and then returning the fingertips down. Okay, hands back onto thigh, arms up for a moment to lengthen through the front body and side body. And then finding the safest way to swap legs. And to have enough space to be able to rock forward and back into this open phase for the hip flexor. And then next time you're forward, see if you can happy pausing if the groin area, hip flexor area feels safe enough to do that. And I'm going to be taking the fingertips down. And firstly, I mean, we are doing both sides, so in some ways it doesn't matter, but I'm going to start by revolving my belly towards my front thigh. So that means I've got my right foot down, so take my right arm up and lengthen through that top arm a little bit, press down through the fingertips or the palm of the hand on the ground. I'm trying not to look up there, just trying to keep the neck safe. And then bring that fingertips down on the opposite side and see how it feels to extend up. Sorry, that hand should be inside. Well, it can be inside or outside. I quite like it on this side. And hands back down for a moment. Hands onto thigh. Extend. and get yourself out of this. And see how you are on all fours for a moment. So we can bring the knees together when you're ready. And then we can do a little bit of figure of eighting. So see if you can come down quite low, so you're keeping the belly a little bit low, which means you need your arms bent. See, I think most of you do that anyway, but just see how that feels in terms of the movement. So it means the joints are a little bit more soft around the wrists and the elbows and the shoulders. And then bum in the other direction to do your figure eight in the other way. So again, getting side body release here. Great. So we're going to come down now. So we're going to come down to our forearms and find a way down with the pelvis. So we're into Sphinx position. So elbows below the shoulders. And we'll just do a few things to see if we can feel more comfortable in this position. So firstly, we'll look behind us towards our heels, one side and then the other side. So you can lower the belly a little bit for this rather than trying to stay high. Just a little bit. So we've got a little bit more ease in the rotation. And then back to Sphinx. So you can put a little bit more of a lift through the front of the chest, sternum. And then if you're okay to just lift bend one knee, take the toes towards the sky, bend the other knee, take the toes or the soles up to the sky. So you get a bit more length through your thighs there. And again, press down through the forearms to get a bit more lift through the sternum and the chest. Belly feels a bit longer. Okay. And then bringing the chest lower, bringing one knee up towards the elbow, that direction, and then coming back into this kind of crawling, climbing position, swapping sides. Maybe 3 times on each side. Enjoying that kind of everything through the hip. And then again, coming back to reposition yourself maybe a little bit to see how the Sphinx feels. Then, shoulders release back if you can. So you can always take your shoulders wider if that feels more comfortable. And then release the arms down. Take the hands by the side of your chest to come up onto all fours. And then you're going to come to where we started, which is feet onto your toes, onto the balls of your feet. Let your bum release if it's happy to do so, fingertips to the ground. So for me, I feel a lot easier here than I did at the beginning. Might not be the same for everybody. I feel my back's a little bit more comfortable. So hopefully that does feel nice and released and relaxed. I'm going to come back down onto my knees and just to do a finishing position. I'm going to come onto my belly if hopefully that feels okay. Stack my hands so I can have my forehead down, and then just going to lift one knee and this circling movement of the lower leg, the heel, and as if it's drawing a circle in the sky, just to loosen the back of the hamstrings and the glutes a bit in the lower back, as well as getting into the knee and the hip. And then circuiting the other way. Releasing that leg down, bend the other leg, and do your circuits. The first happy route, natural route round. And then circuit in the other direction. And then release the leg down. One final time back into Sphinx. Okay, and just take your hand, lower your chest, take your hands by the side of your chest to come up. And so I'm going to finish. So just to that little addition there of the pause, occasionally a little bit of repeats to see if particularly the Sphinx position, which is not a strong position, but it is a nice lengthening through the front body, can be worked on a little bit through different kind of movements as well. Okay, finish there. Thank you very much.